Hi, this is my CS394 final project, and I mainly wanted to look at comparing different stocks and just general observations about the stock market in general. I mainly pulled from three different data sources. Yahoo Finance had S&P 500 data that I mainly used, including like daily min, max, open, close, stuff like that and volume. And as you can see, this is the link to the data, but I mainly use their Python package instead of web scraping, their API Python package. I also used Alpha Advantage for different companies like Apple, Ford, Amazon, Google, Southern Company, and GameStop. And this was very similar to Yahoo Finance in the data, except it came in a lot less clean. I'll talk about this later. And it had API restrictions, which were very heavy, so I had to store the data pretty much so I wouldn't have to request their API each time. That was additional effort. And then I also used the Pandas API mainly for comparing different weeks and getting what week a specific data is a part of. For Yahoo Finance, the main cleaning I had to do is drop a ticker row that they had randomly in there. I also unindexed the date and turned it in date time because it was originally just an object. And then I added like skipped over dates like weekends and holidays when there would be no data for the stock market so that later if we do like a rolling average and stuff like that, it doesn't mess it up. And I also changed everything to two decimal places just to make it easier really. Alpha Advantage had very similar, but it started as a JSON, so I had to turn that into a data frame, and I used pd.toDictionary instead of json.normalize because the indexes of this JSON file were the dates, so pretty much that would have made it into columns if I used json.normalize, and that wouldn't have worked very well. I also changed all their items from objects to like their respective types, like ints and dates, instead of just having a bunch of objects. I also filled in the missing dates and forward filled the data, like in the last one. Changed all the floats to decimals. I also had to concatenate them because they were different companies, so I like 7 data frames and I just put them all together. And then I managed some nulls here or there just by filling in like zeros where they were. The Panda API really did not have major troubles. I just had to concatenate all the results together because I basically created for every date that we would have stocks for, or we could have stocks for. Transformations, uh, the basic ones I had to do were concat Yahoo Finance data and Alpha Advantage data together, make it one data frame. I also did I also did the stock information for weekly instead of daily, so that was just an aggregation based on which week and the stock ID. And then very similar for the date frame I made for month. Some additional calculations we did were like basically just averages of everything for both month and weeks, including adding volatility and a Sharpe ratio, which is effectively a risk-reward ratio, though it's not exactly the same. For stock info, a new data frame I made I had the current price, the first price, and how much the stock has grown, which is especially important to see just like how much money you would have if you invested at the beginning and now you sold out pretty much. And then I used PD cut to fit everything into bins for how good a week was. That one was especially great for me, and I put that into stock info as well. For our data scheme, we had all the usual contenders that you've seen throughout the presentation: stock info, week charts, all stock data, uh, and then that aggregated into weeks and months, uh, which this is very helpful as there's a lot of relations here. For all of these data, these are the main data ones that hold all the data. They all have foreign keys to the ID right here, which is in stock info as the primary key. And also, week ID is very related between all of them, but as week ID is not a primary key in week charts, we can't make it foreign keys down here. Just some fun queries we thought of. This one, or I thought of, this one was my favorite. Uh, it ranks each like stock in the year pretty much. So like Apple was the best stock in 1999, even though some of these didn't really have data at that time. So makes sense that they wouldn't do as good. Uh, I also had like how much volume of money was exchanged per month. I thought this one was very cool. Uh, Average daily return for like a specific week for a specific stock. This would be really useful if you were going through and like comparing stocks. I guess you could make a whole new table out of this pretty much. I also listed the worst or how volatile stocks were in November of 2023, as you can see here, and you could easily change this to any year and month to get the different volatilities. Uh, I also got the worst Sharpe ratios of all time for any given month. So like Apple had the worst one on August of 2025. And then I also went for the extra credit and made a Streamlit ad. It's very basic. I have basically just showing the Sharpe ratios, the risk reward ratio over time for any given stock, or for one stock up here, and its monthly averages, so the Sharpe ratio and the daily return. And then as you can see on the next slide, you can actually change which stock you're looking at, and that'll change the both the graph and the data. So that is all. Thank you for listening to my presentation.